There are 11 strategies that I cannot wait to share with you about how to have fulfilling sex in a long-term relationship. I'm going to do this today with the help of a very special guest who has been featured in Playboy magazine, Oprah, CNN, and leads retreats all around the world for women and couples. Her name is Pamela Madsen. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel to help more people see this work, and tap the bell to be notified so that you get notified every time I post new videos. Now let me get you excited for what's to come in this in-depth interview.
If you are looking to feel like you felt when you locked eyes across the room, that's never going to happen again. So if you're used to a sexual experience that lasts about 7 minutes, which is the average, you haven't even tasted your arousal. You know, the agreement I made with my partner, with my husband, is just because you don't want to do something doesn't mean I have to live my whole life without it.
Okay, I'm just so turned on right now to share this with you. Stick around until the very end, because number 10 and number 11 are like these key magic missing pieces that when you get them are going to totally transform the sexuality that you experience inside of your long-term relationship. And this video is really going to give you some step-by-step so you can start implementing this stuff today. Now, by the way, my name is Fraser. This is my channel. Welcome. I'm a relationship coach specializing with helping women to navigate their turn on and their desire, becoming in the mood more often, and helping couples to deepen their intimacy and communication over time. And I've been named a top 10 relationship coach by Yahoo Finance. Woo! Okay, let's dive in.
I'm in a almost 40-year marriage. One marriage for 40 years. I met my husband when I was 17. I married him before I was 20.
Wow.
So we're actually, I make it sound grander. 40 years. It's not really yet 40 years, but it sounds really impressive when you say 40 years. It's about 38 years. So I'm rounding up. So this is what I know about long-term relationship. You're never going to get new relationship energy back. I'm sorry to be the one to break the news. Okay, but if you are looking to feel like you felt when you locked eyes across the room for the first time, and everything was possibility and excitement and what if, and will she kiss me, and will he call me, and those initial texting, if you were young enough when there was texting, that's never going to happen again. You got to let go of what was to have what is, and to create what you want in the future. So if you're looking for new relationship energy, then it's time to open the marriage. It's time to explore polyamory,
Right?
or you know, have an affair, or leave. You know, like those are the options for new relationship energy. The problem with new relationship energy, it's not a renewable resource within a relationship. So if you only want that feeling, for some people it lasts 6 months, for some people it lasts 7 years.
What can we expect or hope for instead?
Well, I think you can hope for learning how to love warm sex.
What is that?
Well, I think warm sex is maybe the opposite of, you know, your partner coming in the house, grabbing you, throwing you on the counter, ripping off your clothing, and ravishing you. I would call that hot sex. And warm sex, which is the kids are screaming in the other room, you're close together, you're touching, your body feels good, and you choose to have what's available with each other and connect and make love, or not.
Right.
Okay, and so, you know, you can have hot sex in a long-term relationship. And some of the ways of getting hot sex or hotter sex or warmer sex, warmer sex, is to actually change your environment. So, I mean, a lot of these suggestions are old and worn.
Yep.
You know, they just are. When I run my women's retreat, I'm not in one place all the time. I take the women to many different locations. Why do I do that? Because location, location, location. Okay? So if you and your partner are always having sex in the bedroom, what if you tackle each other on the living room floor? What if you try sex in the shower? What if you just go away for the weekend? Travel is a real aphrodisiac. So whether you're traveling from the bedroom to the living room floor, or you're able to schedule travel in your romantic life with your partner, seeing and doing and tasting new things together is exciting.
Right. It adds that novelty that might have been there, in the beginning that
Right.
isn't there anymore. You kind of infuse novelty.
Exactly. So there are also a lot of really lovely couples workshops.
Absolutely.
And I believe in them. I believe in being, even if you, like, I'm not a swinger. I'm not. And it's sexy to be with my partner in a room with other people being erotic. And so there are lots of spaces where you can be as a couple surrounded by other people being erotic. That can be very sexy for a couple. Going to a couple's workshop where you're intentionally investing in each other.
I bet a couples workshop sounds pretty good right now. Well, I have a free one for you that you can do in under an hour in the comfort of your own home. It's called Grow Together and Not Apart, and how to avoid the coexisting trap that most couples unintentionally fall into. And it's going to help you to deepen your intimacy and your communication, and it's free. Okay, so go download it now. I will link it below.
Learning to be with changing bodies.
Yeah.
Because as you stay together, if you decide to have children, a woman's body will change. Illnesses happen. I don't mean to bring down the dark cloud, but as we age, breast cancer can happen, women lose uteruses, menopause happens, prostate issues happen, men get self-conscious as they age around their erection, around their softening bodies. How do we consciously love each other's bodies as they change and reassure each other that the body is still sexy to us? That helps a lot. Instead of people feeling like they're aging out of sex with their partner, or that they are not seen anymore. Like, do you tell your partner that they, him, she is sexy? Or they're looking hot tonight? Or do you just accept, well, why would I tell you? You always look good. That doesn't work. You actually have to say the words. You look really hot tonight. Are you putting your foot beneath the table at a restaurant and putting it between your partner's legs and smiling? Like, how can you be naughty and wicked with each other? What can you do to warm it up?
A lot of your work is with women, and truthfully, a lot of the people who come to me and a lot of people who follow me are women who then want to bring more into their relationship. But the place that they're coming from, I think you're going to be able to speak to, is their lack of desire. So when they hear things like, sex in a different bedroom or a long travel or, suggestions, they almost can't even hear them because they are like, what? Sex anywhere? Like, I'm not interested. I have no desire. But they want desire. So let's talk about desire.
If you're a woman who struggles with desire and being in the mood, I totally feel you, and that's what got me started on this entire journey. So I've created an in the mood intimacy guide for you. It's a couples communication guide to help you to become in the mood more often and enjoy the intimate experiences that you do have. You can download it for free right here.
Because you had wrote somewhere, and I'd love for you to elaborate on this, that desire is the female orgasm. And I can't tell you the amount of women who work with me who struggle to reach orgasm. So what's up with desire and women?
I think that women often we all put the cart before the horse. Okay? So what's the horse? Right? We know the cart is relationship, falling in love, being romantic, finding the one, staying with the one. But there's this horse, right? And so the first thing that really needs to happen is the part that may not feel so sexy for women, which is getting real with their bodies. Actually doing the work to figure themselves out erotically. And when women can really learn to be compassionate with themselves around their bodies, figure out for themselves with support, with the team, with the coach, with the mirror, with experimenting with touch and music and dance, their own relationship with themselves. It's only then that they can begin to heal or enrich their relationship with the partner. Most women have no idea about their own desire. They have only been fed, in many cases, pretty inadequately. So if you're used to a sexual experience that lasts about 7 minutes, which is the average, you haven't even tasted your arousal.
Like, did you hear that? Did you hear that? If you're having sexual experiences that are lasting on average 7 minutes, you haven't even tasted your own arousal. I couldn't say it better myself. If you are a woman who wants to taste your own arousal, who wants to understand why you're never in the mood, understand what turns you on, what brings you desire, then you definitely need to check out my In the Mood program for women. It is all about this. It's a self-study journey that I'm here to guide you on at your own pace, feeling zero pressure to put any of this into practice with your partner, because this is all about you, my dear. Check it out in the link below.
So at Back to the Body, the retreats that I run, the work that I do, women will spend an hour to 90 minutes just receiving arousal touch, not even taking them near their orgasm, to a place where they're full of this desire, this hunger, where they're like begging. Like, I'm begging for more. One great exercise for that, if you want to do it with a partner, is to go to a lovely curated toy and erotic shop. There are many of them where they've put out the vibrators like they're cashmere sweaters, you know, the ones. And you and your partner each take a basket and you separate for like 10 or 15 minutes. And you fill the basket with things that turn you on, things that maybe you haven't been able to express to your partner because it's too embarrassing to tell. Sometimes it's easier to show. Now, the rule is there's no yucking of the yum, okay? You don't look in your partner's basket and go, oh my God, I didn't know you were into that. That's disgusting. You can't do that, all right? That's like a number one rule you set up before.
Yes.
So then you go and you separate and you each put things in your basket, and then you come together at the appointed time by the lubes, you know. And you look in each other's baskets and you get to see what your partner is not telling you. Maybe there's a paddle there. Maybe there's a strap on. Maybe there is some erotic video that talks about a particular fetish. Maybe rope shows up in a basket, right? So then you get to look at each other's baskets and think, didn't know that. Well, I'd be willing to try that. And you each buy 3 things from each other's baskets. And then you get to go home or to a hotel and play with those ideas. So that's a way to communicate desire and to really make a big date out of it. Can you create the erotic equation in your life? Are there things that you feel that are against the rules, but you want it? Like, come on, I know you have it, right? Prohibition plus obstacle plus yearning equals desire. And desire is the female orgasm. So the erotic equation was created by a man named Jack Moran Morin, who wrote The Erotic Mind, which is a great book and everyone should read it. And what he says is that where the turn on lives in our body is when we have prohibition, you know, what you think you can't have, like where there is societal or family or religious, tribal, disapproval, right? Plus obstacles, time, money, people who are blocking you, the workplace, your family, which creates a feeling of yearning. And when you put prohibition and obstacles and yearning together, you get desire. And so we can cultivate these feelings in our long-term relationships. Like we could say, you know, it would be so naughty of us to go to one of those, you know, by the hour hotels. Like, who does that? Right?
Right.
It's like so naughty. And your partner may say, well, what are we going to do with the kids? Or we have to be at Thanksgiving dinner, you know, and, you know, so you have that obstacle of what are you going to do with the kids or Thanksgiving dinner, or how are you going to move whatever it is in your life so that you can go to the really skanky hotel, right? Have dirty sex, you know, and then the plotting and the planning around that with your partner creates a feeling of yearning, which then gets you all hot and full of arousal and makes you have desire. So there are lots of little hacks that we can do to stimulate our desire for each other. Like,
yeah, and I think what you're illuminating is just like, it's one thing is that you're also suggesting is like you've got to have conversations with this with your partner, and that's something that I really, you know, talk about with that is kind of my thing in this industry is the communication piece. And like I think there's something in having these conversations alone that can, you know, bring in that element of novelty and naughtiness.
Talking, yes, and then not talking.
Speak to that.
You know, right. Well, sometimes we can also talk our relationships to death, right? There's two sides of that. Like you're always talking about what makes you unhappy. You're always talking about what he or she is not doing. And that can become a really unsexy obstacle.
Yeah.
For all of you. And understanding that we all have different ways of expressing desire. So I am sure you've heard about Emily Nagoski's theories around receptive versus active desire. Now, this is something like women who say, I have no desire. I'm not feeling it. I don't want it. Well, they very likely have something called receptive desire.
Yes.
So what that means is they actually need somebody to get the party started. So I could be in the kitchen and I'm cooking lasagna and I'm really busy doing my thing, and my partner has two choices. He or she could say, I really would like to have sex tonight. Would you like to have sex tonight? You know, she's thinking, you know, screw you. I'm busy with the lasagna over here. Can you not see I'm cooking lasagna? Talking to my mother. Got stuff going on. No, I don't want to have sex. I'm tired. Okay? So now he could do something else, which doesn't involve a lot of language. Okay? He could come around her back and he could start to like nibble on her neck. And then at first she might go, oh, honey, I'm doing the lasagna. And he would go, I'd love to like rub that lasagna all over your body and eat it off. And then he might start to nibble at her ear and touch her neck and her chest. And now what's happening is her brain's turning off. She's less worried about the lasagna. The wooden spoon even could drop. Okay? And her partner has stimulated, has awakened her desire by touching her and holding her and kissing her and, you know, doing the things that turns her on. You know, it could even be, I mean, what may turn her on, maybe it's have her hair pulled, right? You know, it could be like, no, I'm not in the mood, honey. Oh, yeah? Grabbing her by the hair and pulling it down. She may find that all of a sudden she's in the mood.
Right.
Men tend to have more active desire, where they're thinking about sex more often during the day and are more likely to initiate sex. So we sort of have to sort of get it together on people who like to initiate sex and people who are receptive in their desire. So if you're receptive, the book to read is Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski, Come As You Are. It's a great book, and it really looks at receptive versus active desire and gives great hints for couples and individuals. So if a woman knows or a man knows that he's receptive, you got to tell your partner. Like, well, that's interesting, but my body is not feeling it in this moment. How can you help my body feel this more? Right? That feels good, but what else could you do to awaken my sleeping beauty and give it its first Red Bull? Like, you know, how you can wake me up? And so that's sometimes a difficulty. And if there are two people with receptive desire, it gets more complicated because they have to really own that they're both receptive.
Yep.
And then maybe put it on the calendar when one is going to be active and actually do the work of initiating.
Yeah, I find a lot of the couples that I talk to, there's always often one side of the partner, often the woman, but not exclusively, that is very kind of like waiting around for desire to like strike them over the head. They're like, oh, I just don't feel it. And then sometimes I do. And when I do, you know, that's great. But like, it's like, do you believe that we need to be cultivating desire in our life, or is it something that we just are or aren't?
I think that we all need to be cultivating our desire, and you know, and we need to be self-responsible for that. And again, a lot of it has to do with how do we feel about ourselves? How are we dressing? How are you walking around the house every day?
Absolutely.
You know, grooming matters. Okay, you know, if my husband's walking around in his boxers, that could be a good look, or it could really not be a good look, depending on which boxers he's wearing. All right, and so.
And when he showered last.
Exactly. And so then when he shows up in this cute little red pajama thing, I like to say to him, well, that's a good look for you. You know, how do we, instead of criticizing, how do we encourage our partners to give us more of what we want? Like, you're rubbing my feet. That's so sexy. It feels so good. Do you give them a lot of happy sounds? Right? How do we cultivate them brushing our hair? How do we cultivate letting our partners, especially our masculine partners, feel like they're providing and protecting for us? Because many male partners want that feeling, but don't know how to do it. A way of doing that could also be like when your partner, and I'm talking right now in heteronormative terms, but this could be anybody, any kind of couple, says, where do you want to go for dinner tonight, honey? So how many people say, I don't care, right? Instead of saying, I don't care, why don't you say, you know, it would give me a lot of pleasure if you would not only choose where we had dinner tonight, but would you order for me? And like, that's actually a big thing, to give your partner the menu and let that partner have the pleasure of providing for you.
And I think so many women listening might be like, why would I ever do that? Like, I can order my own food. But I love what
Right.
you're saying is that, like, what is the feeling that that's going to give your partner, and how does that also, like, that starts to change the dynamic, the polarity in your relationship.
Absolutely. And makes you vulnerable, right?
Mm,
Like
yes.
you're allowing and you're gifting, and then has a responsibility of providing and giving pleasure. And then there's the, wow, I never would have had that, or you knew I loved that.
Mm,
And so, all of these are techniques for shifting the day to day.
mm-hmm.
That's all this is. It's like, because the day to day for most couples, which is quite normal, is warm. It's just warm. And we live in a society that says that warm is broken,
Mm,
that warm isn't acceptable, that we have to constantly be living with highs and lows. And if we're not in some sort of thing, it's not working.
mm,
And if you're going to be in a long-term relationship, you're going to have a lot of warm. You're going to have a lot of everyday. You're going to have a lot of calm. And can you do that? And can you accept that warm is healthy and normal and beautiful? And then how can you turn up the heat a little bit and simmer with
mm-hmm.
each other? And it's not going to be every day. And if you need that kind, so people have different, people trying to conjure the word, people have different erotic, people have different novelty needs. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
People just have different novelty needs.
Mm,
So if you have very high novelty needs, monogamy is hard,
yeah.
because monogamy is not about high novelty experiences. Monogamy is really much more about creating a home and a life together.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean you don't have novelty experiences. But people who have extremely high novelty drives are the people that you see in polyamory,
Yep.
are the people you see in sex clubs, are the people who are swinging, are the people who are doing tons and tons of workshops. Really, it's smart to notice who has the high erotic novelty needs in your relationship.
Mm.
And how are you, if you don't have them, how are you going to let them be fulfilled for your partner?
I think that's a beautiful
And
conversation.
and can you do that without being threatened?
Mm.
My husband does not have high erotic novelty needs.
And you're you.
I have high erotic novelty needs. I run sexuality retreats around the world for women. I need to travel. Just came back from Scotland and Thailand. I'm running an event next week in New Jersey. I'm going to Thailand at the end of January, but I'm stopping in Japan. I have high erotic novelty needs. I like to travel. I like to eat exotic foods. Okay. I like to experience many different forms of the erotic. What's true is that my husband feels very safe in our marriage.
Mm.
So he knows that I love him. He knows that I'm not swinging. But I do have erotic experiences and containers through
Mm-hmm.
sexological body work, or, having a play date in BDSM that has a beginning, a middle, and an end. There are no secrets. I have high erotic novelty needs.
Yeah.
We have agreements in my marriage about what I do and what I don't do that my partner feels safe in. I have a lot of women who come to my retreats that have high erotic novelty needs.
Mm-hmm.
First, they may feel dead and like they have no desires, but then they find out once they wake up that they have high erotic novelty needs, and they go to 6 retreats. But that's safe for them and their partner, because their partner knows they're going into a safe container that doesn't involve lots of things that they may be worried about.
So I would love your experience with this for the women who, get in touch with that desire, or even, I mean, this would probably be true for even men as well, So someone gets in touch with this desire that perhaps their partner maybe doesn't share or does. Do you have any tips on like how do you bring this conversation to your partner in a way that doesn't threaten them, that makes them feel like you know, want someone else, or like how do you bring this up without it, destroying the relationship? Because I feel like so many couples, especially in committed relationships, we kind of tuck these conversations into like the do not enter zone, which is very dangerous.
You know, it's not necessarily gonna be easy.
No.
It's just there may be a time of feeling what's wrong with me and do you want to leave me and why aren't I meeting your needs? So, I think to start the conversation around, have you heard about people who have different kind of novelty needs in their life? What is your novelty need around food? What is your novelty need around shopping? What clothing? Travel? Starting to align each other. Well, what is your novelty needs around sex?
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to do? I feel like I have more novelty needs. Like I need to travel more, eat different food. How can we negotiate this so we can stay safe?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be a conversation you're going to have in one day.
No.
And maybe you do it with the help of a counselor or a sex educator. Or maybe it's, honey, I want to go to this program. Do you want to come with me? Because there's all kinds of couples workshops out there.
Totally.
And if the answer is no, I don't want to go. No, I don't want to go. No, I don't want to. Okay, I got it. You don't want to go. I want to go. How would you feel about me going? The agreement I made with my partner, with my husband, is just because you don't want to do something doesn't mean I have to live my whole life without it. The agreement I made with my partner, with my husband, is just because you don't want to do something doesn't mean I have to live my whole life without it. So because you're allergic to chocolate, prove I love you. I am not going to give up chocolate my whole life. That's a ridiculous thing for me to do. I like spanking. You don't want to spank me. I don't think I want you to spank me, but I like spanking. How do we negotiate that I can get those needs met? So you don't feel threatened. Because just because you're not into it with me doesn't mean I don't get to have this in my life.
Wow, that's profound, because I think so many couples, when we get into a relationship, that's what we do. We tuck our desires away, or we don't discover new ones because we kind of we set up original agreements when we get into relationships that are not based on who we're going to be in 20 years, 40 years down the road, and we just keep them. And so that is a profound statement.
And if you're going to be in a relationship for 7 years, 14 years, 20 years, 40 years, I am not the woman my husband married.
Absolutely.
I am not that 20-year-old girl. And I've been like 6 women. And it's really possible to stay in relationship through change. And I think there's a lot of value if people are willing to stay and if there's like not abuse and things like that.
Yeah.
I think there is, I love that I've been with my husband for most of my life. And I love that I have sexual agency. I love that I get to explore. I love that I get to eat new food. And it's okay that he doesn't like sushi, but I do. And I get to eat sushi without him, or he can come watch me eat sushi.
So how have you navigated that in your own relationship? Because I find a lot of couples, and maybe it's a codependency, it's like they want their partner to like do and be into everything that they are.
Well, I wrote a book called Shameless. Wait, it's maybe even behind me. No, it's not. Sorry, I can't show you a cover. I'm just such not a good author who hawks her books. I wrote a book called Shameless, which is Shameless, how I ditched the diet, got naked, found true pleasure, and somehow got home in time to cook dinner. And it's published by Penguin. You can get it online through Amazon, and it tells my story of how I awoken and how I shared this with my partner, with my husband, and how we navigated it. It's all there. So you can pick it up on Kindle or online. I think it's a process. I invited him. I invited him into my experiences. I was very interested, still am, in sexological body work, one-way touch on a massage table, and playing with sensation. And I invited him to a session. He initially said yes. He actually got on the table. And I gave him a session with the practitioner. And then he watched me have a session. And he was like, oh, okay, I get this now. I understand it. That doesn't threaten me. Keep going, honey. And that's like a short Reader's Digest version.
Yeah.
Is that I invited him in to see. If I'm playing with somebody, I introduce them. If I'm going to go do something, I tell him where I am and what I'm doing. So and I don't tell him, nor does he want intimate details of anything.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between secrecy and privacy. So I do not have secrecy, but I do have privacy. He doesn't want to hear what happened in the dungeon. He just wants to know who I'm with and where I am when I'm getting home, because he cares about my safety.
Yeah.
But what I'm actually eating for dinner, no. He doesn't care about that. And so really, in closings, we've been talking for a while, I know, is that long-term relationship is an evolution.
Yes.
It's just an evolution. You're going to be many people. It's how are you going to ride that ship? Remembering that warm isn't broken. Warm is healthy. And there's lots of ways to put the fire back. Sometimes that means understanding you before you understand your partner.
Yes.
To come back to your body, bring your body, get clean with you, explore you, and then that will shift your relationships. We've offered some really lovely activities that they can try at home.
I'm going to try a couple. I'm going to do this shopping one. That sounded so fun.
It is fun. And, and that it's worth it. Relationship is worth it. It's worth most of the time. It's worth staying.
Yeah.
And I'm a veteran. I highly recommend it.
Thank you so much for showing up on behalf of long-term committed relationships and the evolution that can happen, the differences, that sexual evolution and expression that can happen inside of a long-term relationship. So I am just super inspired, and thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Janelle. Thanks for having me.
Where can we direct
people? Where can you find me?
Yeah.
You can find me at backtothebody.org. Backtothebody.org, and that's where you can see my retreats and my portal events, and they happen all over the country and all over the world. And come and have a consultation and find out, what it's all about. And the biggest thing I've learned, I've been running my retreats now for 8 years, and people always want to know if it's for them. And what I tell them all the time is, if you're wondering if it's for you, it's for you. Thanks, Janelle.
Yes,
take care.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.